Welcome to Law Next PR, the podcast where we put a spotlight on the latest news coming out of the legal tech industry. This is Bob Ambrogi, and in each sponsored episode of Law Next PR, I interview a legal tech company about its just released news or latest developments. Today, we have major news to talk about from the law practice management company Rocket Matter, the debut this week of the next generation of its practice management solution. Joining me from ProfitSolv, the parent company of Rocket Matter, to share the news and provide more details on the new platform are Scott Clasen, Vice President of Marketing. Scott, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Bob. Glad to be here.
And Erica Birstler, Senior Director, Product Marketing. Erica, welcome.
Thank you so much, Bob.
Well, just to start off, Scott, maybe I could just turn to you and ask if you could kind of give us a little bit of background for anybody who may not be all that aware of Rocket Matter, of just exactly what Rocket Matter is and what you do.
Yeah, thanks, Bob. Rocket Matter it was one of the pioneering cloud-based legal practice management solutions starting back in 2007, 2008. You know Larry Portwell, the founder of Rocket Matter, and was really like I said, one of the very first practice management solutions that you could run entirely through your web browser, which back then was still pretty much a novelty sort of thing. And but the market really has changed significantly, in that time period, both on how law firms choose to leverage technology, but also just what's available out there. A lot has passed in the last 16 years, whatever it's been now, and Rocket Matter is evolving as well. And Rocket Matter's also changed internally over the last several years. As you mentioned at the top, Rocket Matter is now part of the ProfitSolv family, which is a group of products that include some of the major players in the legal practice management field, including Tabs3, CosmoLex, TimeSolv, along with other products. And, we're just constantly evolving what's happening with Rocket Matter. And that's why we are excited to talk about what that looks like as of July 15th with Rocket Matter NextGen.
So as of July 15th, you've announced this next generation of the platform. Why don't you kind of summarize for us, the news that you've announced this week?
Yeah, and just a brief summary, and then Eric is going to get into some of the details, I think, about it. We're really excited about this. Is a brand new redesign of Rocket Matter built from the ground up. It is the most significant change in the Rocket Matter application since Larry launched it at the very beginning back in 2008, and has a lot of exciting new features, brand new user experience, which really focuses on flexibility and allowing law firms the ability to kind of drive Rocket Matter in a way that they choose. And Rocket Matter has been around a long time, 16 years now. If you've taken a look at Rocket Matter before, you need to come back and check us out again, because it is really a brand new experience for those that get into the application. Yeah,
it's really interesting because I have reported on Rocket Matter probably since it launched, I think, maybe even before it launched when the first beta came out. And that was in, I think, 2007, maybe, if that sounds right. And it was at that time, it was literally the first cloud practice management platform way back when. So it's had a long history, and this is significant news. Erica, we can dive into some of the details, but just kind of on a high level from your perspective, what's kind of the significance of this relaunch and this next generation of the platform?
Sure. So as Scott mentioned, I would say our theme definitely is flexibility. So there's a lot that we've done to allow a law firm to really function the way that they want. I've actually noticed myself over the past several years that we went from law firms wanting a very easy, out of the box, just give me something to open and I can start it and go. I don't want to put much thought into it. But with the evolution of technology in law firms specifically, we've noticed a change in how users want to be a part of that process and actually build their tools or use their tools more effectively to work specifically for their needs. And that's definitely changed in the last handful of years, I would say. And that's why we're like, there's a lot of functionality that we would love to do, but a lot of it is foundational, how the system actually operates at its core. So that's why, as Scott mentioned, we did a bit of a rebuild here, a redesign, rebuild. Some features are the same, some are improved, some are brand new, built from the ground up. And I will say the first thing, which really every software provider looks at, is ease of use. So we wanted to have an application that, even though it's more robust in functionality, that is easy for them to, get started right out the gate. Very often they make a decision to move to a new software and they don't want to have a delay, obviously. You don't want to be hung up on learning a new software. So it's a new look, a new feel, a new navigation, and having additional functionality like adding a refreshed mobile app. We haven't updated our mobile app in quite some time. So having that new experience and also the client portal, brand new client portal, which allows them to have a better experience for their clients, as well as more functionality that can be shared back and forth. So the ease of use is a first one. Secondarily is the customization, which Scott spoke to a little bit. Really user driven. Each user can decide how they want to see their data. That comes down to the views on their screen, the dashboards that they have, the functionality that they choose to use, the permissions and access that they have is so much deeper and allows them to really decide what functionality or what data works best for me, not just my firm and my practice area, but me as a user. Am I a paralegal? Am I a bookkeeper? Am I an associate? Am I a partner? What is most important to me that might not be important to other users? And kind of moving off that customization route, which is really our anchor feature here, is a completely rebuilt QuickBooks integration. We have rebuilt it from the ground up because not all integrations are the same. Usually there's little differences here or there, but I will tell you, we've had feedback just in the market about how frustrating QuickBooks Syncs can be. And that could be just simply based on it doesn't work or it is something that there's information my bookkeeper needs in a certain way and it doesn't cater to that. Therefore, my bookkeeper decides, you know what, we're just not going to use it. So they don't use the sync. And then you're like, well, you're losing all of the efficiency gains that you could get from having these two valuable pieces of data come together. So we completely rebuilt it from the ground up, again, with the focus on customization. They can have a default setup if they're a solo, they don't have a bookkeeper, they have very simple needs, no problem, plug and play. But if you want to work with your bookkeeper to have the integration work best for them, there's several options and customization tools that they can use to have information like your payments, how your invoices come over, how your client costs come over, what you do with your trust accounting, how do you unlink payments. There's individual settings that they're walked through a wizard basically to let them just make those decisions for themselves. And I do think that one thing that law firms always say is my bookkeeper is particular. They like things a certain way. They have my QuickBooks set up this way in my old program. I don't want to have to change that, meaning like how their chart of accounts are set up, et cetera. And we want to work with that as best as possible so that we can make that transition or even just starting fresh as easy as possible. So that was a major change. It took a lot of work, but we're really proud of the end product.
Can I just, Scott, did you want to add something with that?
Well, I was just going to add that, going back to the sort of that theme of being user driven over the years, I've used this term, law firms are like snowflakes. They're all unique in their own special way in how they do things, whether it's because of the size of the firm or the practice area that a firm has. A firm that does family law is going to kind of run their processes quite different that might have to do exclusively leads billing because they're working just with insurance companies. And how you set up that to work within your practice management solution over the years can be somewhat frustrating, where you have to sort of bend to the will of the software. And we've redesigned Rocket Matter so that the software will bend to your will with the flexibility and customization. So I just kind of wanted to, and it includes that QuickBooks integration that Erica spoke to.
I wonder if we could just back up for a minute, because I don't know that we really talked about exactly who the firms are that are the target market for Rocket Matter. I wonder if you could talk about that a little bit and maybe talk about how, to what extent input from those firms help drive this relaunch and redesign of the product.
Yeah, I mean, the target market for Rocket Matter hasn't, changed really. It's generally going to be for small to mid-sized firms, up to 20, 25 attorneys, let's say, any practice area. We find that a lot of those firms that are that size tend to deal in things like family law or estate planning, or like intellectual property firms tend to get a little bit bigger. But the input that we receive from, that's the great thing about Rocket Matter being part of sort of the ProfitSolv family too, is that we have a wider range of firms that we can have talks with and discussions within just Rocket Matter users, and kind of pull here and there from the various product leaders across all of the ProfitSolv brands to understand like what are these, what's really kind of the commonality we're seeing, hearing from our users, and then incorporate that in. So, it took a lot of just discussion with, a variety of firms and a variety of lawyers to really kind of bubble to the surface. And Eric can probably speak to this even better than I can, because she spends more time actually talking with firms than I do. There were some common themes that we sort of heard, and that's what we've incorporated. And that's why the flexibility, the customization, and the QuickBooks rebuild completely became kind of our driving pillars of what we wanted NextGen to evolve to.
Erica, is that, can you expand on that a little bit in terms of the feedback that yeah.
So I will say, and I mean, I've been in the legal technology space for over 12 years now. And just in general, hearing from law firms, you have two layers of, I would say, preference, or even just customization, where it's like, okay, I have a family law practice. These things are important to the type of work that I do. And then I'm this practice though. Like there's still internal processes, culture of a business, how usually the managing partners want things run. So there's two layers there. One is more, okay, how do we cater to certain practice areas? So like Scott mentioned, family lawyers, a big focus of them is being able to stay on top of their retainer replenishment, or to be able to split bills in a way that works best for multiple parties. That's important functionality that we rolled out because we've heard that feedback from contingency firms. I hear all the time where they say, well, so many programs are focused on hourly billing. I don't do hourly billing. And a lot of this billing data is not the thing that's at the forefront of my data that I want to look at or my reporting. I care more about my trust accounting. I care about what do I owe to third parties at the end of the day. We have features and functionality and data for that as well. So they can choose to that be at their forefront as opposed to more features or data that's not as relevant to them. And then the personal preference piece is, well, like I said, by role. I'm a paralegal, or I'm an attorney, or I'm a bookkeeper. And what this specific person has in unbilled data today is not relevant to my day-to-day job. And that's when we get into things like dashboards. They can build dashboards for themselves, and they can decide, okay, these are the criteria I want for this, what we call as a view or a widget, what you have on your dashboard. And I want this dashboard to have a certain theme or overarching, like a title or a area that it's focusing on. And I want to have it private or share it with other people in my firm, because that also helps with collaborating with other users as well. And that goes for a lot of the customization functionality we're talking about. It could be for myself. It could be for the firm. It could be for people like maybe just other paralegals that are in the firm. So really allowing them to drive or fly the rocket, I guess you could say, the way that they want to.
The other thing, Bob, that we had heard, just after talking with sales, support, success teams and such, specifically about Rocket Matter was, hey, it's a feature-rich platform, no doubt. But we knew from taking a clear-eyed look at ourselves that the usability, there was room for improvement there. There was room to take this feature-rich platform and make it somewhat more accessible, if you will, for our users. And we feel like that's what NextGen has accomplished, and not losing some of that feature-rich stuff that some firms really want, but yet making it more accessible so that more firms could take advantage of it, who maybe didn't have a lot of time, or one particular person at the firm who was like, yeah, man, I'm going to roll up my sleeves and kind of dig into this. We wanted to make it accessible for those type of firms as well.
Making the platform more customizable can mean a lot of things. What does that really mean for lawyers who are using it? I mean, what are they able to do? How easy is it to do it?
So we have a way that we have this concept called views. And views is almost like it's a very easy wizard that you say, okay, what resource are you looking at? Matters. Okay. What information is important to you about matters? How do you want it filtered? How do you want it sorted? What do you want visible on the view that can be applied to both their screens? Like if I'm looking at my list of matters, I see the columns I want. I see the orders that I want. I can change it. I can save it. I can share it very easily from one page. You don't have to go anywhere else. As long as you have the permission or access to do so, you can create those views and choose what your default is for every single day use, because my default versus somebody else in the firm might be very different. And the same goes for dashboards. I can choose what dashboards I want to see, if I want to build additional ones myself, how customized, what the layout is, what the data is. And again, Is this just for me? Is it for other people in my firm? And then also just functionality. We have tiers at Rocket Matter, of course, where they can decide, okay, which area here works best for me. We also have additional functionality, like we have CRM and we have sharing of documents as well. And we have payments, and they can kind of decide, well, what does my firm need, and allow it to scale with their practice. We have a lot of firms that come in on our essentials or pro tier that grow over time and learn to really value that additional functionality, choose to take it on. And that's the features that we really decided to rebuild. There's so much great functionality there, but we said, how do we make this, how do we lower that barrier to entry? How do we make it in a way in which they say, that's something I really want to look into, but I don't have experience in project management. How do I get started? Well, let's make it a lot easier for you. And that was part of that, ease of use focus that we've had this go around.
Yeah. So how do you do that? It's funny you say that, because I remember a conversation I had with Larry Port, the original founder, way back when he told me that, Rocket Matter is an all-in-one platform, has a number of features, but a lot of users just never make use of a lot of the features because they just never figure out how to use them, or, they never get the proper training or whatever else. So how do you support firms in understanding and taking advantage of all these features?
Yeah, that's where our success teams come into play, having the dedicated success managers and accountants, executives who are tasked with, staying in contact with, the individual firms and making sure they're aware of things like NextGen and what's, coming and rolling out, and even doing just general, user communication through whether it's newsletters or webinars or whatever the case may be, to make sure that they're fully aware of how to get the most out of their investment in the tool. Because Larry is correct. And, Eric and I experienced that with we both came from other brands that are part of the ProfitSolv family, TimeSolv, Cosmolex. And that's true across all of these brands, is you build these things and you think people will come, but you do have to hold their hand a little bit and show them the value of why you need to take some time, invest a little time into setting them up properly. And we're hoping that what comes out of NextGen is the ability to make that less daunting of a barrier, like we mentioned. Even building things that, like, as we touched on, with depending on your practice area, you can see your matter, a real estate matter, at your views, your custom fields that you may create for that can be quite different from the matter view you're going to have for a different area of law. Because, a lot of law firms, they don't specialize in just one area. They do have a variety of different places in which they practice law. So the custom fields that you create, custom matter templates that you create, so that, this is a real estate matter I just brought on board. Boom, I have that template I can apply. Oh, this is a contingency one. I just brought that on board. Boom, you apply that matter template. Could be two completely different views of how you're experiencing, looking and managing your matters depending on the practice area. So it's a good question, Bob.
I will say that the onboarding piece, in case it was ever a question, our success in onboarding and support and sales teams they know NextGen inside and out already. Obviously before we even go into launch. And there's been a lot of pre-work too, because we have had an early access time frame where we actually have existing Rocket Matter users that are already on the NextGen platform, for some for weeks and some for months at this point. So we have already gone through showing them the product, onboarding them, understanding what works best, getting their feedback. We've even made several improvements in that time frame based on that feedback. So that really helped not just our users to get to know the NextGen platform, but our team to get to know, what do people love about this new version? What do they want to leverage the most? What saves them the most time? But also, I'm a firm believer in, on day one, somebody's in the product, get them to do their day-to-day easily. Just the day-to-day to start, because you don't want them getting hung up on too much advanced functionality just to get their firm going in a new product. So we do take the approach of, okay, what's most important to you today? Let's get you set up so that you feel comfortable. And then we have a lot of this, like we said, communication. We have training classes, we have webinars, and of course we have our team that continually lets them know what's available so that we could take their experience to the next level. And of course they can choose how much of that they want to take on or not.
All right. Well, you just set me up, so I have to ask, what is it that people have told you in their feedback that they most like about it? And has there been anything that they haven't liked that you've scrapped based on the feedback so far?
I will say, it's funny that you say, what do they not like? And my answer to that is always change. I know that is anybody who's in the software industry, but especially the legal software industry, who's traditionally change averse. It is something that had to be handled very sensitively, and it still is, to understand that, change is hard, especially when you have a product that is running your entire business. Making a shift on that is really difficult, which is how we know that NextGen is successful, because we've had firms move on over and willing to take that chance and that risk based on what we've told them with the value. All the things that you can't do right now in your current system, you can do in this new version, and showing them in the way that they're like, I didn't even have the ability to do that before. I didn't have these ways that I can tailor to my specific practice area. I can clean out the clutter of things that are not relevant to my firm and make it more tailored to us. That is kind of a game changer. So through those conversations, we've learned what they value. I mean, I know we've said it thoroughly, but the flexibility when a firm is so much more willing to be in the driver's seat these days, like I said, and their excitement over that. And I think things like the dashboards that I said that they can build on their own and really see what they want to see. It is something that they're like, wow, I never even thought of doing that before. What are the possibilities that are there? We've also had firms that are not even using our QuickBooks integration right now. And we're talking to them and going like, well, why haven't you used it? And they'd say, oh, well, when I set it up, maybe my accountant wanted this way and I just never went back to it. And we say, let's show you something. Let's show you this new functionality. Bring your bookkeeper into the conversation. We want to hear their thoughts. And of course, bookkeepers love the idea of being able to do things their way and what they're comfortable with. So we've had some great feedback on that as well. But yeah, I think honestly, a lot of the feedback that we've had about what people want is what they've had, great features that they had in the previous application that they want to continue to have going forward. And we're like, absolutely, that's coming. Don't worry about it. So in that beta phase, we had a lot of functionality in flux that now is live and ready to use. And our users are very happy with it, which is great to hear.
I know one thing that some feedback I've heard as well, the flexibility in user permissions in that, and Erica touched on a little bit before, the fact that you can really lock down or expand the user experience based on the role. And I know that's vitally important for law firms that use a lot of contract attorneys where, hey, I'm kind of farming out some work. I need them to be in my system, but I don't want them like in my system. So, giving them the ability, like, look, when you log into Rocket Matter, you're only going to see the 3 clients that are assigned to you and the 5 matters that are assigned to you only. And that's it. You're not going to see anything else. You're not going to see accounting. You're not going to see anything other than just those things, so that being able to kind of accordion up and down what users can experience in there. We've gotten good feedback on that because that was something that we knew we needed to move forward with, because again, as we evolve with our softwares, the permissions and what people can or can't do needs to evolve with that.
Right. So there are user by user customization capabilities, but then there are also firm-wide permissioning customization capabilities.
Yeah. And I would say kind of when we're talking about permissions, I mean, every software has had permissions since it's built, its inception, but the depth of that is what's really different. And features like a true ethical wall, which is what our larger firms really were seeking. It says, I have, I'm a general practice. We have lawyers in all different areas, and lawyer A, not only can he not see the matters for lawyer B, but what happens to combined data like reporting? Or if I'm looking at a dashboard or looking at a specific view in my system, how does that work? So an ethical wall is truly that. It builds a wall in which if I can't see client A, even if I generate reporting of overall trust funds in the firm, I see the data, I see the totals because that's important to my job, but I don't know who has what. If I don't have access to those individual matters, I can't even see the matter name, and I can't associate anything to a particular client. And that is vital, especially to those larger firms that have true conflicts. It's not like smaller firms, they say, oh, I have a conflict, I won't take that client. That's not how it works in larger firms. You take on that business, obviously, but you want to make sure that you're not crossing wires at all in that process. So that was a new feature that we have with NextGen as well.
We talked today as we're talking today, it's July 15th, which is the day that you're formally announcing this. You've been testing it with some firms. up until now. What happens now going forward? What's the transition look like for firms that have been on classic Rocket Matter, I guess, and now next
That is
gen?
what we're calling it, Rocket Matter Classic. So, as Erica alluded to, we have been and we will continue to migrate existing users onto the next gen platform, what is now the Rocket Matter platform. And why July 15th today is the important day is today moving forward now for new users, new prospects, new sales, they will be getting the Rocket Matter NextGen. That is now the Rocket Matter from a front-facing marketing point of view. What the our sales team and others will be selling, and then conversely, we'll continue to work with our existing firms to migrate them over slowly but surely to the environment.
And then you had, Erica, you had referred to the fact that a lot of your testers or some of the firms that you've been talking to so far about this were concerned, that the features they love not be lost in the new version. Is everything being carried through, and are the features changing in any way, or are there any other new features that are coming about because of this transition?
All of the above. There's, the one great thing is, as Scott said earlier, of having multiple products under the ProfitSolv brand is learning what really works, what users really love, and also what they struggle with. And so from the original platform, there's a lot that we brought with us. There's a lot that we improved upon, and there's a lot of brand new functionality that they've never seen before. So it really is three different buckets. And it took that feedback. Our product and development teams have been working very, very hard over the last couple of years to really understand what direction to take this program. And it really was feature by feature, looking at certain items and saying, well, we could improve this, but do we want to just have the current feature and build on top of it? Or do we want to start from the ground up and have it something new? And the new functionality piece is there are new features that we've rolled out that is like we have a Zapier integration. We added split billing. This new QuickBooks integration is very new. The navigation and design is all new. And that is something that we feel has an impact and a value to our users. We just have to communicate that and let them know why. And then they see and they go, well, this is something I definitely want to be a part of. And we will continue. I think this new platform, the best part about it is since it was built foundationally in a way that allows us to really do that custom experience, it opens the door for so much more additional functionality in the future.
So one other question I wanted to ask you before we wrap up is just about security. I know lawyers are very much concerned about the security of any technology, and with cloud security in particular, that's always something they're asking about. So what can you tell me about this platform?
Yeah, so I wanted to mention, we've talked a bit about permissions and access controls. And of course, we have two-factor authentication and your traditional security measures. But what we've really done beyond what is expected is SOC 2 Type 2 certification. And it's becoming a little bit more of a buzzword in the technology space, especially in the legal space. But I'll just kind of explain it as the reason we love it at Rocket Matter is it is a third-party standard. It is an external standard that they're like, this is a guidance as to how you should handle customer data, period. It's not specific to the legal market. It's just software in general when you're handling customer data. And so it's a step beyond just your encrypted data or your two-factor. It is, what are your internal processes? Who has access to certain applications? How do you handle your passwords within the business itself? So like at Rocket Matter, we're held to a certain standard as to how we operate so that when we get audited by a third party and they say, you passed this certification, we've been through the ringer, not just the application, not just, how is the data managed, but who are the people involved in any access to any applications related to data. And the audits happen about every 6 months. And so that's something that we're committing. It's voluntary, but we're committing to going through those audits every 6 months to have something to show our end users to say, you want to know about security? Here's a third-party audit. And that brings a lot of peace of mind to us as well as the clients.
Yeah, it's that seal of approval. It's a good thing.
Oh, yeah. Very helpful.
Well, our time is just about up here. Scott, anything else that you'd like to say in closing as we wrap up our discussion of this news?
We're just, ecstatic that the evolution of Rocket Matter is here, and, can't understate the significance of what's happened with this next gen launch. And we do really encourage, Rocket Matter has been around a long time, that, take a look at it again if you haven't looked at it. for a while. It is something that a lot of time and effort behind the scenes work. It's been happening for a long time. And now that it's out in the public, we're really excited to still remain an anchor and for the legal practice management space and what we provide for law firms. Because at the end of the day, Larry had a vision when he started this company of really serving law firms. And I know Eric and I and the rest of all the employees at ProfitSolv very much believe in the mission of we will provide the tools so that you can do the things as a lawyer and as a law firm you do best, which is practice law. Frankly, you didn't go to law school to run a business, and these are small businesses and you have to run them as such. So there's a lot of on-the-fly learning lawyers have to do. And we want to make sure that we provide the products from the very beginning, whether it's that CRM and your website and how it looks to running your practice management to getting paid on the back end. We built tools that make that easier, faster, and less of a headache for you. And we feel like NextGen has just stepped that up to a whole nother level that we're just ecstatic about.
Just one note is this is just the beginning. And that goes for us as a team. We've all been very, very excited, especially this past week, that all of this hard work is going into this new version. But we're more excited to hear everybody else use it, everybody else get a taste of it and let us know their thoughts. And our product team is ready and willing to hear that feedback. And we're really excited just to see what the future of Rocket Matter will be. I think it's going to be great personally, because I think that we're setting us up with a fantastic product. And we're really excited. I know our entire team is looking forward to working with hopefully all of you in the future. So definitely check it out.
Thank you, Erica. Thank you, Scott. And congratulations on this launch. It's really, exciting news, especially given the history of this company and of this product and its place in the legal market. So thanks for doing it today.
Thanks, Bob. Appreciate the time.
Yeah, thanks so much.
And that's it for today's episode of LawNext PR. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts or on YouTube at LawNext_PR. You can also find all of the episodes at the LawNext Legal Tech directory under the Resources tab there. This is Bob Ambrogi. Thanks for listening.